As Israeli attacks on Lebanon persist, the nation's fragile social cohesion is tested. Fraying under the stress of mass displacement, occupation, economic crisis, and political paralysis, are fears of a return to civil war justified? I'm Andrea Sankey, and on this special edition of the Newsmakers, we're in Beirut, exploring the parallels between what led to civil war 51 years ago and the conditions destabilizing the nation today. Encampments along downtown Beirut's waterfront expose the growing insecurity consuming Lebanon. In more peaceful times, this area is a stage for concerts and events. But with the menacing buzz of Israeli drones overhead, it's now home to some of the country's 1.2 million internally displaced. Since the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran reignited fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, camps like this have emerged across Beirut. With overwhelming demand and limited resources, the Lebanese Red Cross and Ministry of Social Affairs converted this sports stadium into a shelter for more than 1,500 men, women, and children. They've come from the south and the east of the country, as well as from Dahia, Beirut's southern suburbs just a few kilometers away. With so many homes and infrastructure destroyed, it's not clear when or if they'll go back. This woman from Beirut's southern suburbs has been here for more than 2 months.
The Israelis hit Dahia, and there are no more houses to live in. There's just destruction.
One man displaced from southern Lebanon told us the Israeli forces occupying his village, called Hula, are trying to wipe it off the map.
They demolished everything with bulldozers and with artillery shelling. They wiped it from existence, and its history has been erased. But the history of Hula is living in us, thanks to the men and their strength and their preparation, and the blood of the martyrs. Hula will return.
In spite of a ceasefire brokered in April, Israeli attacks on Lebanon have continued. Israel occupies land in the south that equates to about 10% of Lebanon's total territory. The overwhelming sense from many displaced people is that Hezbollah is their only defense against Israeli aggression. The Iran-backed group is hugely influential in Lebanon, with its political wing holding 15 seats in parliament. A base of support rooted in the country's large Shia Muslim community. Yet Lebanon's government has entered into a high-stakes confrontation with Hezbollah. President Joseph Aoun has made it his mission to disarm the group. The former commander of the Lebanese army says the state must have a monopoly on arms. His government has also entered into highly contentious direct talks with Israel. The government's approach is polarizing Lebanese society, and any missteps risk antagonizing a large part of the population.
They can disarm them over our dead bodies, whether it's the government or someone else. These arms are our honor, and we won't give them up to anyone until we've erased the enemy from our lands across all of Lebanon.
How can you negotiate with someone who destroyed you? Someone who killed your people? Someone who's trying to erase everything in your country? Based on what are you going to negotiate with them?
In Ashrafia, a predominantly Christian neighborhood, most people support the government's efforts, and their views on Hezbollah are far less favorable.
Hezbollah has harmed Lebanon because residents of the south have been forced to leave their lands. They are living on the streets in tents, with no land, no home. How did we benefit from this war?
Others fear the current divisions are reopening old wounds from the civil war that shattered the country 5 decades ago.
It's not only the negotiations with Israel that is causing problems and divisions between Lebanese. The Lebanese people have not recovered from the civil war. We are still following the same sectarian policies of the civil war. Whenever we have a problem, we tie it back to the civil war. We haven't learned the lessons. And we have not learned that unless we unite, there cannot be a proper nation.
Although Lebanon's civil war ended in 1990, its legacy of sectarian division remains, embedded in the country's confessional political system. The sectarian power-sharing arrangement allocates equal representation to Lebanon's 18 officially recognized religious communities. It's proven a major obstacle to a fully unified state. It was a major factor in the outbreak of civil conflict, yet the system was only reshuffled in the 1989 Taif Agreement that ended the war. For some who lived through that era, the conditions today seem strikingly similar to those that preceded the first clashes in 1975. In those days, the Lebanese state seemed to be unraveling. Much like today, economic inequality and corruption were rife. The government's power was being diminished by internal and external forces. The Palestine Liberation Organization had relocated its headquarters to Lebanon. Its operations drew Lebanon into direct conflict with Israel. Many Lebanese viewed the PLO as a state within a state, similar to how many view Hezbollah today. The PLO's presence divided the population, leading to clashes between groups aligned with or against it, later spiraling into a war along sectarian lines. 15 years of intense fighting destroyed the country, leaving deep scars that have never fully healed for those who survived.
For Lebanese youth today, tangible reminders of the civil war are few, but some are contained here in this building called Beit Beirut. These once family apartments were converted into a sniper's den during the civil war. Preserved with its shrapnel wounds intact, the building serves as a dark reminder of Lebanon's horrific past.
Exhibits inside memorialize life during that time, with stories of loss and resilience. I'm here to speak to a former fighter from that era. Ziad Saad took up arms at the age of 14, thinking the fight would only last 2 weeks. He became a commander for the Lebanese Communist Party and learned the hard way that the cost of war never yields the intended rewards. In 2014, he and other ex-combatants founded the organization Fighters for Peace to help foster a process of national reconciliation. Today, Ziad shares his lessons from the war with Lebanese youth in the hopes they don't make the same mistakes.
I feel that we have to tell our story for the people, not to repeat what we make. And that's what Fighters for Peace is doing now. We are from different sects, we are from different political sections, and we are from different area and different religions. So, and we can say we have the same ideas as each other, but we agree about the violence, it's not a solution. And that's what we are trying to tell the youth, especially, not to repeat our mistake. So, you know, until now, we managed to have a in person to speak with around 72,000 people, with 100 school, secondary school, 50 it's public school and 50 private school, and with the clubs, and we managed to make also small reconciliations in the villages where the crashes happened and the war has happened and there is so many victims. So
is that, do you think, the only way it can be done then to prevent another descent into civil war? It's maybe not up to the government, it's up to these grassroots efforts?
That's what we are doing. That we are working on the grassroots, which is all the governments since a Taif agreement until now, from 1990 until now, they didn't do that. They work, they make a bigger reconciliation, they kiss each other, and they divided the sweet between each other. So all the parties they used to, most of the parties they used to have to share in the civil war, they took place in the government. It didn't solve the problem. We still deeper even problem than before.
While the memory of the Civil War remains strong among those who lived it, the generation born since have contended with their own battles. Since 2019 alone, Lebanon has been through enormous hardship, a revolution, the port explosion, the two major conflicts between Hezbollah and Israel, the latter still ongoing. People like Ziad are doing their best to remind them of the horrors. But with so much strain on the population, is this fragile society approaching a breaking point?
So opinions vary as to whether Lebanon is in real danger of return to civil conflict. I spoke to the Minister for Social Affairs, Haneen Sayed, to get her view on the conditions now and what's to blame for the instability. We are hearing more and more parallels being drawn every day between the conditions of 52 years ago that led to the civil war in Lebanon and what is happening now because of the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel, the occupation of part of the country. How similar are conditions now, in your opinion? And do you fear that there could be a return to similar civil strife?
I think conditions are different, especially at the regional level. I mean, today, now, of course, there's the context of the larger war that's between Iran, US, and Israel. But I think regionally, there's more maybe approaches or coherence among the different countries. I think we're not, now, okay, locally there are, it's a tense situation and we can speak about that.
That's what I'm
But
referring to, yeah.
I believe, first of all, also the Lebanese people have nevertheless don't want another war to come, civil strife to happen. And every time, at least for the last period that I've been in Lebanon, which is more than 15 years, we get to the brink, unfortunately, and then everybody pulls back. And we're maybe there right now. And it's that, and I don't think it's in anyone's interest regionally, globally, to have another country, a civil war. I mean, in the end...
Makes perfect sense to say that, but you'll notice a number of leaders, very powerful leaders right now, aren't doing what makes the best sense sometimes and pursuing what would mean peace regionally and even globally. So there is this worry now that Israel might be trying to push Lebanon toward the end of further destabilization. Where would that leave Lebanon? Do you believe social cohesion here is strong enough to prevent that unraveling?
I mean, I would be naive to say that social cohesion is very strong in Lebanon. I would probably be misleading your viewers. At the same time, as I mentioned, I think people from all communities, even though communities that are armed, do not want to get us to that stage. If you look at just example of the displacement, what we've been having, 1 million internally displaced people from the current war, and one can look, so far there really hasn't been a major punch-up, frankly, and yet the congestion of the displaced in areas like Beirut or Saida or Alay in Mount Lebanon is far greater than what was just in the last war, in the war of 2024. And yet things remain under control. And I believe, first, we have a strong president, strong prime minister, a cabinet which is bonded together. Nevertheless, it is a cabinet that most things we agree on. And on this one, we don't want to push the country to the brink. We don't want to get it to jump over that is something very firm from the president, prime minister, and all the ministers. So I think this is what, that kind of solidarity is there. And we're all very wise about that. And when you talk about civil war, you're going to have two entities that are fully armed and ready to do it. Honestly, we don't have to. I mean, there is one side that is much more, has weapons, and the other parties do not. There's, okay, people have weapons and arms in their homes, but so there's, that's why I also believe there's, in terms of the armed balance, we have a different situation entirely from before.
What do you say to those Lebanese people, and I'm sure you know who some of them are, who are getting very agitated and argue that this is all all Hezbollah's fault, that Lebanon would be at peace if it were not for Hezbollah, versus those who say Hezbollah is the only entity that protects Lebanon from further occupation, from ceding land. How do you reconcile those two?
Right. I mean, the argument that weapons and arms have protected the country so far is just doesn't hold water anymore. We've seen in the previous war, we've seen it now that we have to admit it. Israel has a military upper hand, and by far and by stretches. So, having arms in a non-armed, in a non-state actor is not protecting the country. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. It's not even a deterrent. I mean, because there was an argument used for years that this is a deterrent from Israel to do even much more, but it hasn't really deterred. So I think the only solid or sustainable solution is to have is to strengthen the army, the national institution, that if anybody has a chance to defend the country, it would be the national army, which needs further, of course, support, logistics, and all of that, which has been one of our main asks for the international community to help us. And let's say a scenario where the army would get into a conflict with the Israelis. At least at that point, we're talking about a state versus a state, compared to now where we're constantly in a way on the losing side by saying it's a non-state actor who's fighting a state. So internationally, globally, we don't have that kind of credibility. But if let's say, I mean, as I'm saying, that the Lebanese army was able to trying to reclaim land back, so we're a much more legitimate player on the international scene to say this is our country, this is our land, and our army is defending us. So this is kind of a small point, but one that I believe, many Lebanese really see that arms have not brought us peace. They've not brought us. To the contrary, every time this conflict erupts, we lose more land, we lose more people. The death, the destruction.
You're perfectly logical, but that there's the other side that says their logic is that we are the only protection because we do not have that unified army that can fight the massive power on our border.
Chicken and the egg, right? You
Exactly.
have to break that.
Exactly.
Right? And I would rather be on the side of saying I want to strengthen the state institutions. The army has to be the only one that can defend the country. And more importantly, the decision to make war and peace has to rest with the government.
The government's efforts to disarm Hezbollah play into a broader question about foreign influence in Lebanon and the nation's ability to pursue its own destiny. For a small country, balancing external forces has always been a major challenge. Ahmad Hariri is someone who knows this better than most. His family is a political dynasty with deep ties to the Gulf. His late uncle Rafiq Hariri and cousin Saad Hariri both held the post of prime minister. Rafiq Hariri was murdered in a bomb blast in 2005. 15 years later, a UN-backed tribunal convicted one member of Hezbollah of his assassination, although the group itself has always denied involvement. After serving 2 terms as prime minister, Saad Hariri stepped back from politics in 2022, pausing the political activities of his future movement, though he continues to lead the party from the UAE. Ahmad Hariri is the party's general secretary. I asked him if he's concerned that the government's high-stakes strategy on Israel and Hezbollah could backfire.
If there is pressure internally and externally for these direct negotiations with Israel, do you worry about the agitation against those Shia-aligned people in your country and against Hezbollah in particular, if they're not included, much less have an actual seat at the table? And we're talking about the potential descent into civil strife for this country, which is incredibly dangerous given how fragile
it
the
can
social
happen
cohesion is.
in a minute.
There you go. So why take the risk of doing these direct talks without knowing that there isn't widespread Lebanese approval for
Okay, first of all, President Aoun is in a position where he wants to protect, let's say, the public institutions inside the country.
if he doesn't want to agree to these negotiations, the Israelis would have bombed the army, would have bombed the airport, would have bombed every infrastructure inside the country. So this is one part. The second part, for sure, President Aoun knows that there is a table of negotiation and a sous table. The main table of negotiation is in Islamabad. Let's be clear. So what's happening between Iran and the USA will affect the sous table that is being held in Washington between Israel and Lebanon. Whatever they say that this is not related to the other one, is, I don't believe it. So to be reasonable, if we will have an agreement inside on the table of, or on the initiative of Pakistan between Iran and America, USA, it will affect us here more towards Hezbollah being accepting, let's say, the terms of a truce plus or a security agreement or a non-hostility agreement, call it what you want. Okay. But if the Islamabad initiative is not moving forward, this initiative here will not move forward.
And in that case, if Israeli bombings persist and
maybe
more people are displaced and
no,
created,
maybe they will come back to war. I don't know.
Right. Within Lebanon.
Within Lebanon, yes.
So you actually do see that risk,
Akid, for sure.
even without only with one armed.
What should we do? What we will do? At the end, you are in a place between hell and hell. So I need to take the risk to protect whatever I can from the infrastructure of this country, because the Israelis, for sure, wants to ruin everything inside Lebanon. And even also, they want to play on the confessional, let's say, conflict inside the country, and to try to bring up a new civil war or civil strife, and sometimes in Bekaa, sometimes in the north, maybe in Saida, just to be released and to continue what they are doing in the south from putting the people outside the villages and destroying everything.
And you can, just to be clear, you can actually envision the pressure becoming so great that actual Lebanese will begin fighting within Lebanon.
Well, it happened before. It happened in history because of political reasons and because of, let's say, external intervention. Today, what is good, we can see that the Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Syria, the new Syria, Turkey, they don't want a civil war in Lebanon. We can feel this. Iran, I don't know what the position of Iran is. Today, do we have one Iran, or do we have two Irans, or do we have three Irans? I don't know. But what I know is that, okay, if Hezbollah wants to have a civil war, who is the second party in front of Hezbollah? We don't have in Lebanon. And neither the Sunni
so that
has.
Would prevent?
You don't have a new Abu Ammar here when they fought together back then. You don't have Walid Jumblat, and all the other parties are in another side today. They don't want to have a civil war. Even President Berre is very keen in all the political stands he's taking, that he wants to protect the Shia from civil war. Sunnis, they are President on, for sure he doesn't want. And even the Christian parties that participated in the civil war, they are clear that they don't want a civil war. That's why I can see that if we go to have one way or another a united political, let's say, agreement internally between the confessions / parties, we can go stronger in any negotiation. And this is what President Aoun is trying to do. And we back him till the end.
It's clear that Lebanon's government is navigating one of the most perilous moments in the nation's recent history, at the risk of reigniting historic sectarian tension if they fail.
So Lebanon understands what's at stake, and the Lebanese are all too aware that when a nation is at the mercy of external powers, internal political strife, and economic instability, anything can happen.
But with the painful memory of civil conflict still clearly in the minds of many, the hope is that this perfect storm of miserable conditions won't culminate in domestic warfare, and that the resilience of this exceptional country and its people prevails.
That's all for this special edition of the Newsmakers from Beirut. I'm Andrea Sankey. Thanks for watching.